Hello, good day everyone. I am Christine Samara and I will be your teacher for the entrepreneurship subject. Okay, so here are the intended learning outcomes of our lesson. So first is that at the end of the lesson, you are expected to define entrepreneur and entrepreneurship. The next one is to differentiate consumers from producers and to determine the importance of entrepreneurship in the economy and also to distinguish the evolution of entrepreneurship. So we will cover all of these topics at this lesson. Okay. So first, before we delve into the topics that we have, let us first examine the list of people that you can see on the screen. Let's have the first one. Okay, I think everyone anywhere in the world knows him because he is the co-founder and the CEO of Facebook. Yes, this is Mark Zuckerberg. Okay, so he is one of the wealthiest people in 2021. He is expert at getting things to work over the internet. Okay, so he is a successful entrepreneur as well as a philanthropist. Okay, so we know that Facebook is a social media platform with over 3 billion monthly users worldwide. So another wealthy entrepreneur in the world will be uh, Elon Musk, a South African born American entrepreneur who co founded the electronic payment firm PayPal. And he was also one of the first significant investors, as well as the chief executive officer of the electric car manufacturer, the Tesla. Next one on the lower left, if you are facing this screen, you can see Bill Gates. Okay, so this brilliant mind founded the Microsoft, and then it has now has 250 million active users. And he is not only the world's second richest man, but he is also a skilled software developer, an author, innovator, and like Mark Zuckerberg, he is also a philanthropist. Okay, and lastly, on our list of the wealthiest people in the world, we have the founder and the CEO of Amazon. So this is Mr. Jeff Bezos. Okay, so he is the founder and CEO of the massive e-commerce platform, the Amazon. He ranks the first among the world's richest people. So according to the article that I've used, yeah, he ranked first, and that was in the year 2021. Okay. So he started his online business by just selling CDs, and then he gradually expanded the platform to include books. And then, as the platform's popularity grew, more products were added. Hence, Amazon has been so successful. Amazon is actually the uh, counterpart of Shopee and Lazada that we have here in the Philippines. Okay, so this was Jeff Bezos. Okay, so now we're done with the wealthiest entrepreneur in the world. Now let's go to the Filipino entrepreneurs, and I'm sure some of the listed people here are already uh, known on your end. Okay, so we will look at the top 5 that belongs to the top 10 richest Filipinos on 2021 Forbes list. Okay, we have the top 5. We have Ayala. Okay, so the current chairman is the one on the right side if you are facing the screen. This one. Wait a minute, let me just draw this one. Oh no, laser pointer, this one. Okay, so Ayala is worth $3.3 or billion dollar. Okay, so this was on 2021. And then Jamie Zobel de Ayala was the chairman of his family's Ayala Group. This is Jamie. And then until 2006, and then he retired, and this one is uh, Jamie the second took over. So this man has 7 children now, and they control more than 1/3 of the company. Okay, so they are, or Ayala Group is the top 5 on our list. Okay, let's have the top 4. Okay, so let's have the top 4. We have the Lance Gokongwei, this one, and I think you are familiar with this. Okay, this one. Okay, yes, it is on the aviation industry. Okay, so top 4 is Gokong Wei and siblings. So, following the death of Filipino tycoon John Gokong Wei Jr. in November 2019, his children, including Lance and his siblings, namely Robina, Lisa, Marcia, and so on, have taken over the various aspects of the business. Okay, so this one is the Cebu Pacific. Okay, it all also includes, or their companies also include the Robinson Retail Holdings, which is the Philippines' second largest multi-format retailer, and the Universal Robina Corporation, which is one of the Philippines' largest food and beverage companies. Okay, so these are all part of their business group. Okay, so Gahongwei again is our top 4. Now let's have the top 3, which is, or uh, Enrique Razon Jr. So he is the third richest Filipino on Forbes list of billionaires in the past year. So he is the CEO of the International Container Terminal Services, which is the Philippines' largest port operator. So it has subsidiaries in Eastern Europe, Africa, and Americas. Okay, let's have the second wealthiest Filipino. We have the former Senator Manuel Villar. Okay, so he is the richest person in the Philippines with a net worth of $6.7 billion. Okay, so he was born in Tondo, a poor and densely populated district of Manila, and later on, he became the chairman of Star Malls, one of the largest mall operators in the Philippines, as well as the Vista and Landscapes. Okay, so the country's largest home builder. So he was the top 2 in 2021. Now let's have the top 1. Let's have the C siblings. Okay, so they are the heirs to the late Henry C's property. Okay, so in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, the combined wealth of the 50 richest Filipinos increased by 30% to $79 billion. Okay, so here are our top 5 wealthiest Filipino entrepreneurs. Okay, now what are the similarities that we can find among them, among these entrepreneurs that we have mentioned? Okay, so what are the distinguishing factors that we can learn among them if we want to be entrepreneurs in the future as well? Okay, so according to Harvard Business School, there are top 10 characteristics of successful entrepreneurs, and we can derive here the definition of entrepreneurship. Okay, so I'm going to present each one characteristics to you, and the first on the list is curiosity. Okay, so curiosity is a strong motivator for successful entrepreneurs, and it drives them to seek out new opportunities on a regular basis. So entrepreneurs ask probing questions and pursue new paths rather than settling for what they think they know. Okay, so being curious. Okay, so curiosity necessitates the use of structured experimentation. So, an entrepreneur must conduct tests on each new opportunity to determine whether it is worthwhile to pursue. Okay, so if you have an idea for a new product or service that will fill a market gap, you must ensure that customers are willing to pay for it. And in order to do so, what you have to do is to conduct extensive market research as well as, of course, conducting tests to validate and determine the viability of your concept. Okay, so is it possible? Okay, so will consumers demand this idea or product in the future? Are you going to gain profit from it, or will it add value to the community? So you have to conduct tests. And on the third characteristics, these entrepreneurs knows how to adapt. Okay, so the nature of business is always changing, and entrepreneurship is a never-ending process in which new challenges and opportunities present themselves at regular intervals. So, when anticipated changes occur, an entrepreneur must assess the situation and adapt to keep their business moving forward. Okay, that's why it is also important that if you are a business owner or an entrepreneur, you must also be a risk taker because when changes happen, you must be able to solve or adapt from it. Okay, now let's have the next one. We have decisiveness. Okay, so in order to be successful, an entrepreneur must be willing to make tough decisions and stick to them. So, because the entrepreneur is the one who is in charge of steering the company's course. So, from funding and strategy to resource allocation, so the entrepreneur stands as a leader. So, when we say being decisive, it doesn't always imply that you know everything there is to know. So, to be an entrepreneur, you must have the courage to make and stick to difficult decisions. And if the result is unfavorable, the decision to take corrective action is crucial. Okay, now let's have the next characteristic. We have the uh, team building. That means an entrepreneur is a team player. Okay, so a great entrepreneur is aware of his or her own abilities and limitations. So rather than letting their flows hold them back, their mindset that they cannot do this, or maybe consumers will not avail this in the future, rather than allowing these thoughts to hold them back, what they will do or what entrepreneurs do is to form well-rounded teams that complement their strengths. Okay, and in many cases, the entrepreneurial team rather than an individual is the driving force behind a company's success. So when you are starting your own business, it's really critical that you surround yourself with teammates who have complementary skills and work toward a common goal. Okay, so that's being a team player. Okay, now I've mentioned this a while ago. It's the being able to be a risk taker. Okay, so you are able to tolerate risks. Okay, so in entrepreneurship, yeah, I think you already know this. In any business or entrepreneurship, it is frequently associated with risk. And while it is true that starting a business entails taking risks, an entrepreneur must also take steps to mitigate or lessen those risks. Okay, because many things can go wrong when starting a new business, but many things can also go right. Okay, and according to entrepreneurship essentials, entrepreneurs must actively manage the risk reward relationship and position their businesses to benefit from the upside, okay, rather than the downside. Okay, and this one is very important. You have to be comfortable with failure because according to studies, approximately 75% of all new businesses fail. And a faulty business model, for example, or a lack of focus or motivation can all contribute to failure. And while many of these dangers can be avoided, others are actually unavoidable. So, what successful entrepreneurs do is that they are preparing for it, okay, and they are comfortable with failure by then. Okay, so they are propelled forward by the possibility of success rather than being held back by fear. Another characteristic of an entrepreneur is he or she is persistent. Okay, so while many successful entrepreneurs are aware of the possibility of failure, this does not mean that they are easily discouraged. Okay, so failures, on the other hand, are viewed as opportunities to learn and grow. Okay, and another one is by being innovative because we know that many people believe that entrepreneurship and innovation go hand in hand. Okay, so this is frequently true. And some of the most successful startups have drastically improved existing products or services to meet the market's changing needs. Okay, and entrepreneurs who are innovative have a distinct advantage over those who are not. Okay, fortunately, it is possible to cultivate a strategic mind, okay, or mindset. And by honing your strategic thinking abilities, you will be better to identify innovative opportunities and position your venture for success. And lastly, but not least, we have the long-term focus. Okay, so most people associate entrepreneurship with the process of establishing a business. So while the early stages of launching a venture are critical to its success, the process does not end once the company is up and running. And always remember, it's easy to start a business, but difficult to grow a sustainable and substantial one. But some of history's greatest opportunities were discovered long after a venture had begun, and that is according to entrepreneurship essentials. Okay, so entrepreneurship is a long-term endeavor, and to be successful in the long run, an entrepreneur must focus on the process from start to finish. Okay, so these are the 10 important characteristics that you can adopt, okay, when you want to be an entrepreneur in the near future. Now, let us define what is entrepreneurship. Okay, so just for us to be able to know how to pronounce this correctly, okay, okay, I've been saying entrepreneurship, okay, entrepreneurship, okay, this one, entrepreneurship, okay, so of course, the easiest way to define it is that by getting the definition of Mariotti, which is entrepreneurship is the process of being an entrepreneur. So that's the person, okay, and it's the process that a person does, okay, but it is more than just learning how to run a business, okay, and it has the potential to have an impact on the economy, your community, and ultimately the world in which we live. Okay, on the other words, entrepreneurship is not just about by gaining profits or gains for your own self or for your self-interest, for your own benefits, but it has actually the mindset or uh, yeah, the value of giving an impact to the economy or the world that we live in. Okay, so it's another one is a practice of starting new organizations, particularly new business. Okay, generally in response to identified of opportunities. Okay, and another one is that it is the creation and innovation to build something of recognized value, okay, around perceived opportunities. But first, let's go back to define what is an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is someone who comes up with a unique idea or concept for a business and turns it into reality. Okay, he's the one who bears the business risks and uncertainties. And the entrepreneur's venture is known as a startup company, and it is performed for the first time in terms of an idea, innovation, or business process. Okay, so he leads the market. Okay, no matter how many competitors will come later, but their position will remain untouched. Okay, and they are also known for their creative approach. Okay, that's one of their distinguishing characteristics, being creative. Okay, they introduce innovation and coordinate the resources. Okay, so some of the real life examples of entrepreneurs are the ones that we have mentioned a while ago. So we have the Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and so on. And of course, in the future, you can be one of them. Now let's talk about being a businessman and being an entrepreneur differs from one another. So it might be confusing because we have been mentioning the word business a while ago in terms of defining entrepreneurship. And the thing is, they are actually two different things. They have characteristics, but then we can say that an entrepreneurship can be an umbrella term for umbrella term in business. Okay, right. Now let's make it clearer by discussing what we can see here on the screen. And on the left side, when you're facing the screen, we can see some cosmetics here. We have the BLK, the Vice Cosmetics. What is this one? Colorette, and this one is the one we are all familiar with. We have the Maybelline. And on the other hand, on the right side, when you are facing the screen, we can see here the social media sites. We have the Google, the Facebook, and of course, the one founded by Bill Gates. The one founded by Bill Gates, we have the Microsoft. Here's the first difference between these two. So someone who creates and runs business is called an entrepreneur. And to be entrepreneurial means to think or act like an entrepreneur. On the other hand, a businessman is someone who sets up a business with an existing idea, offering products and services to the customers. So the thing is, it has existed. Okay, the product or service offered has existed before. Okay, now again, an entrepreneur is a person who starts an enterprise with a new idea or concept, undertaking commercial activities. Okay, again, a businessman is someone who sets up a new business or a business with an existing idea, okay, or products, while the entrepreneur offers a new idea or concept. Okay, so we can discuss differences between these two further. Okay, so a person who brings his unique idea to run a startup company is known as entrepreneur. Okay, let's have this. Okay, and a businessman is a person who starts a business on an old concept or idea. Okay, for example, if you want to start a business on cosmetics, you can have your own cosmetic line by offering products like lipstick, eyebrow, concealer, or any cosmetic that you'd like to offer. And that one is okay. That and we know that cosmetics have long been in the business industry. And but if you want to be an entrepreneur, you come up with a unique idea or unique concept, like the one that we can see here. For example, we have the Facebook, and we also have the Telegram if you want. If you are familiar with that one. Okay, so you can be an entrepreneur if you develop another application or website offering new services to the customers. Okay, for example, you can develop an app uh, which can benefit the students. Okay, for example, you can develop something that can help them on their research. Okay, we know that students have been doing research or their thesis while being in school, and one of the rigorous activity or task is to search for related literatures. So maybe you can provide or you can develop a website that provides references for the students. Okay, so that can be beneficial for a lot of the students or a lot of people as well, and you can be a successful entrepreneur through that idea. Okay, another one is that a businessman is a market leader, while entrepreneur is a market leader. Okay, a market leader because he is the first to start such a kind of enterprise. Another distinguishing characteristic is that a businessman follows the footsteps of other businessmen, while the possibility of failure is very less, which is just opposite in the case of entrepreneur. And a businessman is oriented towards profit, while the entrepreneur is a people focused in essence because he gives more importance to its employees, customers, and the public. Okay, and then lastly, the businessman faces extreme competition because it is very difficult to gain a competitive position in an already existing market, which is not in the case of an entrepreneur. Yes, imagine the various cosmetic lines that we have or the clothing brands that we have. Okay, it's really competitive, and that's why they faces extreme competition in that industry. Okay, now why should you be an entrepreneur like Mark Zuckerberg? Okay, and there are numerous reasons to start your own business. Okay, however, before doing so, think about the advantages and disadvantages of being an entrepreneur. Okay, the key is to determine whether the potential rewards that you can get from your own business are greater than the risks that you will take. The first one will be making your own rules. Okay, so you when you are an entrepreneur, you can make your own rules. Okay, when you own a business, you get to be your own boss, and depending on that business, you can decide what type of schedule you work, where will be the location of your work, and how and when you get paid, or how and when will you get to pay your employees. Okay, and one thing that is actually nice about being a boss as well is you have the final word on which products or services the business provides, and they are provided. Okay, so for example, if you have a unique idea, you can put that into action. Okay, another reason is that when you are an entrepreneur, because you have your own idea, then you do the work that you enjoy. Okay, because okay, so when you become an adult, you will notice that majority of people's lives are spent in the workplace, and some of them are not happy with their jobs, and some of them are enjoying what they are doing. So when you become an entrepreneur, you can devote your time to something that you enjoy. And when you enjoy something, you are more focused and motivated, and you are more likely to achieve the goals that you have for yourself, for your family, for your friends, or to whomever will that be, who to whomever's reason is that, of course, be able to create greater wealth, okay, than when you are working on a 9 to 5 or an 8 to 5 job. Okay, so typically employees can only make the salary a company is willing to pay. So when you become an entrepreneur, there's no limit to what you can make. Okay, you can also do more than just make a living from yearly business earnings. Okay, when your business is successful, then your salary can also increase. Okay, all right, and let's have the last one. Of course, this is also important. You are uh, you will be able to help the community that you are living in, because being an entrepreneur opens up opportunities that help make your community and the world a better place in which to live. Okay, that sounds cliche, but it is true. Okay, now let's go to the risks that you can encounter when you become an entrepreneur. Okay, the first one of course, this is very obvious. There is a potential for your business to fail, and by being fully responsible means the success or failure of business rests on you. So it just depends on you. So the time and money you invest in starting and running a business just might not pay off. Okay, so that can happen. Another one is unexpected obstacles. Okay, so problems can happen that you don't expect. Okay, so the result will be really discouraging and frustrating unless you choose to keep a positive attitude. And facing these challenges can get scary and lonely, especially if you don't have the emotional support of family and friends. That's why support system is also important when starting your business or your own startup. And another risk is the financial insecurity. Okay, this means that the amount of money you can pay yourself may go up or down depending on how well your business is performing. So it depends on how your company startup or business is doing. Okay, and many new businesses don't make much money in the beginning, and so you may not always be able to pay yourself. During rough times, you may even have to put more money into the business just to pay your employees. Okay, so that can happen. But as we have said a while ago, 75% of the new startup company fail, but uh, it's only in the beginning. One of the cosmetic line I know, which is the colorette. I've correct me if I'm wrong, but according to the CEO, they have been for in the industry for 5 years, and during the pandemic, their cosmetic line succeeded or become a trend, especially that we have now social media sites where we can make anything trending. The long hours and hard work. Okay, so it's not unusual for entrepreneurs to work a lot of extra hours to make their business successful. Okay, this is especially true during the initial startup process. Okay, this means that more time devoted on work means lesser time to have leisure activities or to spend time with your family and friends. Okay, so until you can afford to hire other people to help, you may have to perform many types of tasks when you become an entrepreneur. Now let's go to the next topic, which is differentiating the producer and the consumer. We have two pictures again here. So can you identify which one represents the producers and which one represents the consumers? Okay, so yes, you're correct. The left one represents the producers and the right one represents the consumers when you are facing the screen. Okay, so let us talk about the producer first. Okay, so who is a producer? So a producer is a person or an organization that generates or brings forth material, and it could be a manufacturer, authors, record companies, farmers, designers, artists, entertainers, etc. Okay, so they generate or bring forth material. So, on the other hand, we have, okay, just to look at the pictures that we have here. Okay, so who is a consumer? To the Consumer Protection Act of 1986, a consumer buys any goods for a consideration which has been paid or promised, or partly paid and partly promised. Another one is that hires. Consumer can hire or avail any services for a consideration which has been paid or promised. Okay, so when a person enters this world, he begins to consume products. Okay, when we were babies, we are already consumers. Okay, consumers of products. So a baby needs milk and then later on food, clothing, medical services, and so on. Okay, so whether a person is a doctor, a student, or a teacher, or an architect, he or she is a consumer. Okay, any profession or any type or any label that you have for yourself, you, as long as you are consuming foods and services or products and services or any goods and commodities, you can be considered a consumer. Okay, so and the entire economy revolves around and for consumers. Okay, so many people wants to start up their own business because they have something to offer. Okay, they have something for people to consume. Okay, so let's discuss the relationship between the consumer and producer. Okay, so as we can see, here is the cycle. We have the what we call as the net producer and the net consumer. So when we say net producer, that means you produce more than you consume. And on the other hand, net consumer means you consume more than you produce. And it's just a cycle. Let us further explain these two concepts that we have here. So first one, we have the net producer. So if you produce more than you consume, just like for example in terms of money, you are said to be self-sufficient. Okay, so if this is the case, you have some cash on hand. This means that you can put the money to good use by expanding your production capacity, or you can also use that money to save for the future or invest for the future or donate it if you are a person with a soft and good heart for people who are in need. Okay, and another one is the net consumer. So you consume more than you produce. Okay, so you won't have enough money to consume everything you need if you consume more than you produce. Okay, just like for example in terms of money. Okay, so this leaves you with only a few desperate options. Okay, you can go into debt. Okay, and you can be one of those people who borrow some money and then promise to pay it back later but doesn't. Okay, and you can also beg producer to donate for you, or in worst case scenario steal from him, but you can't do that because it's bad. And what a net consumer do is you can reduce your consumption. You can reduce those products that you add to cart and that you check out during some uh, we call this sales season. Okay, okay, so that means you only consume as much as you produce, or when you are a worker, as much as you earn, as much as your salary. You don't borrow anything that is more than your salary. Okay, you just consume less than that. Okay, and you can also increase your production or earnings if you want to consume more. Alright, now let's tackle about the importance of entrepreneurship in the economy. Okay, the first one is that it stimulates demand in wider economy. That means entrepreneurs make consistent efforts to modernize their existing ventures or existing production processes. Okay, they create new products, develop their market, and increase the number of products available to customers in order to grow their customer base. Okay, another one is that it nurtures creativity, productivity, and innovation. Another one is it create more job opportunities. Okay, so unemployed people in society have the most employment opportunities, both directly and indirectly. So this is a result of expansion of new products, new enterprises, and markets. Okay, so in other words, it generates employment. Okay, another importance is that it develops the community. Okay, so because these entrepreneurs also invest in community projects and they support local charities financially. So this allows them to expand their development beyond their own businesses. Okay, another importance is that it makes social change because entrepreneurs tend to break away from the tradition by offering one of a kind of goods and services. Okay, so since they have unique ideas, then when this is turned into action, this can lead to a better quality of life and more financial freedom. Okay, so smartphones and some applications, for example, they have changed the way people work and play all over the world. Okay, because we know that smartphones are not just for wealthy countries or people, and it, according to studies, it is more than 5 billion people around the world that owns a smartphone. Okay, another one is that it enhances the standard of living. See, another is it promotes research and development, of course, because when you have a unique idea, you have to study or dig deeper into it before you can do the tests and before you can validate it if it is working or not. Okay, so a new research and development entrepreneur is looking into the possibilities of new products based on methods or based on new methods and inventions, and the new products are on the market. Okay, so this is according to Ansari. Okay, now let us go to the evolution of entrepreneurship or the history of entrepreneurship. So, who are those people who have contributed greatly to entrepreneurship? And let's start during the 1800s, and you can see here Thomas Edison. I'm sure you've encountered him already when you were in junior high. And at 12, he already showed signs of being an entrepreneur. So what he did was he sold newspapers, some candies and snacks at the local railroad station. And when he reached the age of 14, he had his own newspaper business. And this picture, as you can see here, so this is his invention, and this is the early Edison phonograph. Okay, so he was able to have his own newspaper business because he gathered the daily news releases that were teletyped into the station, and then he pulled out some scoops, okay, and convince the commuters to subscribe to his paper, which he called the Weekly Herald. And there you go. He has successfully created his own newspaper business. Okay, and one of his inventions was this. Okay, and one of his greatest achievement was also creating a practical and economical system to generate and distribute electric light, heat, and power. That's why he was famous for the light bulb. And we know that the light bulb has changed the world forever, and we are still using it until now. Okay, next we have on the 1900s, we have the two friends. We have William Harley and Arthur Davidson. Okay, so they wanted to improve on the two-wheel bicycle, and then the motorcycle was born. Okay, so Harley and Davidson was one of only two manufacturers to stay afloat during the depression that happened on the 1930s. So now it has outridden its competition to become the world's largest manufacturer of motorcycles. Okay, another one, we have Maggie Walker. So he was a advocate. She was an advocate for human rights, humanitarian causes, self-sufficiency, and race relations. So why with the philosophy of turning nickels into dollars, she became the first woman to charter a bank in the United States. So on the present, okay, uh, in Sweden, we have here the old man, uh, Comrade. His name is Comrade. He learned at an early age how to make money from available resources, and by buying matches, okay, in bulk at a low price, he could sell them in smaller quantities at a higher price. Okay, so this is also very common for some people. They buy products in a bulk, and then they are going to sell it at a higher price, and then of course gaining more profits from it. Okay, so uh, this man has invested the money he made in this and other small business ventures, and he founded the furniture business called the IKEA. Okay, and IKEA actually has a branch here in the Philippines, and it has actually expanded more to the other parts of the world, all over 35 countries. Okay, and he has actually become one of the 10 wealthiest people in the world as well. And of course, who can imagine a world without computers? Okay, so Steve Jobs started a company with the goal of bringing personal computers to everyone. That's the beginning of that. We are also familiar with this one, the iPhone, an Apple product. Okay, so Apple went public and made Steve Jobs a millionaire. Okay, and today Apple sells such popular devices, not only phones but also iPods or um, iPhone watch. Okay. Today's entrepreneurs pay attention to social trends to attract customers. Okay, so to be successful in today's business world, most entrepreneurs use the internet in some way. And in fact, more and more companies are making the internet their primary business source. That is why there are actually job opportunities as well that we can find online. And some of the most paying jobs now are the what we call as the virtual assistants, and they can work as Facebook ad manager or social media manager. And what they do is to manage the business, the online businesses of these entrepreneurs or businessmen in order to attract more customers. Okay, and one of them, as we have mentioned, uh, on the wealthiest people around the world, is the founder of the Amazon. And you can search on the internet, the Amazon.com, and its business is entirely doing good. Okay, so in the Philippines, we have the Shopee and Lazada. And okay, today's entrepreneurs as well uh, are also operating all types of businesses. Okay, they are willing to take risks because they hope for great rewards. Okay, and in the process, they help make life better for many people with the products, the services, and the jobs that they provide. And you can also be one of them. Who knows? Okay, so that will be all for today. Thank you so much for your time and goodbye.